Hi, I'm Travis, your friendly former U.S. visa officer and U.S. immigration attorney. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the B1, B2 visitor visa, or what's commonly referred to as a tourist visa. Now, we have a lot of videos and a lot of content on our channel about how to schedule your interview and what happens if you find yourself in complicated situations, how to explain different things. But I thought that I would take a step back today and start at the basics. What are the three criteria or the three considerations that your visa officer will use to evaluate whether they can say yes or no at your B1, B2 visitor visa interview? It's really important that you keep these three criteria in mind as you're preparing for your interview so that you have kind of a goal that you're aiming for. Because, I'll come back to this in a little bit, the law is actually written against the applicant. The law requires the visa officer to conclude that you are not qualified for a B1, B2 visa unless you can demonstrate that you are. And so, by understanding these three criteria, these three qualification requirements, and then by preparing to volunteer the reasons that you meet these three requirements, you are going to improve your chance of success dramatically. So let's jump into it. Number one, the first criteria that your visa officer is going to consider is whether you're planning to do something in the United States that you're allowed to do under a B1, B2 visa. Now, generally speaking, the B1, B2, again commonly referred to as the tourist visa, is designed for people who are coming to the United States for a vacation or a holiday. Maybe they're coming to visit family or friends, or maybe they're coming for a conference or a business meeting. Those are all generally allowed, and actually the B1, B2 visa was designed for that type of travel purpose. However, there are many activities that are explicitly not permitted under a B1, B2 visa. For example, you're not allowed to travel to the United States on a B1, B2 to enroll in a full-time course load, which ultimately leads to a graduation and a degree. So in other words, you can't come to the United States and enroll in a master's degree program. You also can't come to the United States for work. The B1, B2 visa does allow you to travel for business meetings or to negotiate business contracts, but it does not allow you to come to the United States for gainful employment with a U.S. company where you're going to be paid from the United States. So the first thing that your visa officer will be considering is, can I even approve a B1, B2 visa for this applicant based upon what they're planning to do in the United States? Now, the second criteria that the officer is evaluating is whether you have enough money arranged for your trip, for your stated or intended purpose of travel. And let me be very clear here. We do have some other videos about how to discuss your financial arrangements, but a common question that people ask us all the time is, how much money do I need to have in my bank account to qualify for a B1, B2 visa? And the short answer is, I can't answer that. There is no magic number that you need to show. Instead, you need to show that you have enough money to cover this trip. Airfare, hotel, food, transportation costs. You need to show that you can generally afford to make this trip, whether it's a vacation or holiday, or maybe it's a trip on behalf of your company, such that paying these expenses is not going to essentially bankrupt you or leave you destitute with no money. So while there is no magic number that you need to show in your bank account, you simply need to show that you have sufficient finances to cover your intended travel activities. Now, number three, and this is often the most difficult criteria to establish. Number three is that you maintain a residence abroad that you have no intent of abandoning. Now, in plain English, we commonly refer to that as having ties to home. Think of that as the reason, or maybe the multiple reasons that are going to compel you to leave the United States after your trip comes to an end. Remember that the B1, B2 visa is not a permanent ticket to get you into the United States, to live for the rest of your life. Instead, it's a ticket that allows you into the country temporarily, generally for up to 6 months, but often far less. So if you're planning to come to the United States for, let's say, a 14-day vacation, you can't stay for 14 years. That would be a direct violation of the visa. So during your interview, it's really important that you establish the reason or reasons that you're going to leave the United States when your trip comes to an end. And historically, that can be done by showing that you own property at home, or you have a lengthy career that's waiting for you, or maybe you have familial or social obligations. But of course, this is unique to each individual applicant. So you should challenge yourself to really determine what is waiting for you at home. What are those responsibilities or obligations, or maybe the good things that are going to kind of draw you out of the United States after your trip comes to an end? And that's what you should explain at your interview. And that leads me back to a point that I made a minute ago. And that is that the law requires the applicant, it requires you to demonstrate why the officer should say yes. You need to demonstrate that you're planning to do something you're allowed to do, you can afford your trip, and that you're going to leave the United States after your trip comes to an end. Now, there is a lot of misinformation online. Many people will say that you should answer your visa officer's questions with short responses or even one-word responses. Take it from me as a former visa officer, that does not do you any service. The officer truly needs to understand your details, your context. They need to understand your real situation. So you need to be prepared to attend that interview and be proactive, to volunteer the situation and the reasons that you should be approved. And that's where we can help. My partner Mandy and I are both former visa officers, and we're both U.S. immigration attorneys. We've dedicated our career as attorneys to helping applicants just like you navigate through this application and interview process. We're here to help you prepare for the interview itself, to make sure that you're able to effectively communicate your situation in a way that demonstrates that you should be approved. We can, of course, help with the DS-160. We can help you finalize that, review it, make sure that everything is accurate and complete. We can help you avoid complications. And of course, we can help you address complications that may just not be avoidable. You know, situations like you've been refused before. Maybe if you require a waiver of a legal ineligibility, reach out to us at info@zfvisa.com and we'll explain how we can help. Now, we also offer a suite of online guides, really online self-service courses designed for B1, B2 visitor visa applicants. We have a course that's designed to walk you through every step of the DS-160 application form so that you understand exactly how to respond to each question on your own and with as much accuracy and honesty as possible. We then have a course that's focused on the interview itself. We offer a proven method for effective communication so you understand how to explain your situation while demonstrating why you should be approved. And then we have a comprehensive end-to-end course, which covers the entire application process, including the DS-160 application form, how to prepare for the interview, and how to address complications that maybe are unavoidable. For example, if you've been refused before, how should you handle that previous refusal both in your DS-160 and in your ultimate visa interview? So don't leave this process to chance. Reach out to us at info@zfvisa.com and we will help you prepare. Best of luck in your visa journey.